The ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff of California, Eddie Glaude Jr., Carol Lee, Jonathan Lemire, and Casey Hunt, all back with us as well. Congressman, thanks so much for taking time with us this morning. I have a number of questions for you, but let's just start so our viewers understand with what exactly you will see today in terms of classified documents, where they come from, and how you get access to them.
Well, the answer is I don't know. I can tell you what I think should happen at the Gang of Eight meeting. And, well, first of all, there should be only one meeting. It should be the Gang of Eight. There shouldn't be a pre-meeting with two GOP members who have effectively acted as Donald Trump's legal defense team in Congress. But what I would hope to hear at the Gang of Eight is we have shared with you what we can without compromising sources and without compromising the investigation. That's all we have to share with you at this point. When the investigation has run its course, when we can be assured that our sources are protected, we will share more. That's what they should do to protect their equities. But I think they recognize, obviously, they're getting enormous pressure from the White House. And that the whole purpose that you have this demand from Nunes and Gowdy is so that information could be provided, as Giuliani has made quite overt, to the Trump legal team. And that is completely improper and abuse of the president's power. So
I gather that as long as there are going to be briefings, you want eyes on them, and I understand why you want that, so it's not just Nunes and Gowdy looking at this information. But to take a step back, do you think the briefings are appropriate at all? In other words, should anyone have a look at this information right now, and do you need to see it at this point in the investigation?
No, I don't think they're appropriate. The Gang of Eight meetings are designed, and the sharing of the nation's most closely held classified information, intelligence or counterintelligence, when there is a need to know for the Congress, not as a stratagem for the president's defense team. And that's what's happening here. This wasn't a Gang of Eight meeting convened by the intelligence agencies. This was a Gang of Eight meeting and a partisan briefing for these two other members that was insisted upon by the White House. And that's not how this should come about. That's not an appropriate process in terms of handling classified information. But it is obviously designed to circle the wagons around the White House.
Carol Lee?
Congressman, I have two questions for you. One is, what should we expect from you publicly after reviewing these documents in terms of, are you going to be able to say anything about whether or not this was done appropriately or inappropriately? And second, I'm curious how you see Jared Kushner getting a permanent security clearance and whether, in your view, that means he's no longer in any legal jeopardy with the Mueller investigation.
Well, in terms of what I'll be able to say after the meeting, I will only be able to speak, I think, in the broadest generalities, whether I thought the meeting was appropriate or inappropriate, whether I thought that the Justice Department and FBI are standing up for their investigative equities and to protect their sources, or whether we're seeing yet another breakdown of the system of checks and balances. It is, fairly breathtaking that in the face of the department and the FBI saying that lives could be risked here, that the president and these Republican members are saying, we don't care. We want access to the information. And all too often, the information provided to the GOP has made its way to Fox News. So profound concerns there. In terms of Jared Kushner, I can tell you this. There is no way that anyone else in his circumstances who has had to revise their disclosures some 40 times, who has had undisclosed meetings with a hostile foreign power, would get a security clearance. There's only one way you do that, and that is be married to the president's daughter. So I don't know that I can say that it sheds much light on his legal jeopardy or lack of legal jeopardy, but it's certainly the case that no one else would have gotten a security clearance but for his familial relationship with the president.
Congressman Jonathan Lemire, two questions for you. First, what is your degree of concern that the White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, is going to be in attendance at both of these meetings today? And secondly, the president again this morning on Twitter is talking about Spygate, suggesting there was a spy, part of espionage, and part of the federal government in his campaign. How damaging is it, in your estimation, that he is labeling what is a pretty common FBI practice in this way?
Well, first, in terms of Chief of Staff Kelly, I did ask one of the heads of the intelligence agency yesterday, who told me this would be a Gang of Eight meeting, whether there'd be anyone from the White House present. Now, I was assured that Kelly would only be there to convene the meeting and then would leave the room. There should be no one present from the White House. In fact, we shouldn't even have the White House convening this meeting. It just shows really how improperly motivated the whole meeting is, that the White House is involved in pushing out materials from the department that are helpful, they believe, to the legal defense team. So he should have no part in the meeting. We'll see whether those representations that have been made to me by this intelligence agency head are accurate. In terms of what the president has been saying, look, the president said that there was wiretapping at Trump Tower. That was false. He said there was an unmasking conspiracy. That was false. He said that there's political spies embedded in his campaign. That is false. This isn't Spygate, but it is a form of Liegate. These repeated false statements by the president, usually prefaced by the disclaimer, people are saying, or we're being told. Whenever you hear that preface by the president, people are saying, or we've been told, the American people should know by now that what follows is going to be another false statement.
Congressman Schiff, this is Eddie Glaude. I have one basic question. Is the House Intelligence Committee irreparably broken?
It's not irreparably broken. I think we're going to have a problem as long as Mr. Nunes is the head of the committee. I will say that for the non-Russia related work of the committee, that has gone on in a nonpartisan way, even through the worst of times. But in terms of our interaction with the intelligence community's confidence that they can share information, which is essential to our functioning with this chairman, I think it's certainly irreparably broken vis-a-vis the chairman. And after the Nunes memorandum saga, where there was such a blatant declassification and politicization of intelligence, they're wary of sharing things with us. But the members of the committee, myself included, continue to do our jobs, recognizing the additional hurdle we have given the chairman that we have.
Congressman Schiff, it's Casey Hunt. I have two questions for you. The first is this. Do you have full confidence that the Justice Department, in launching this counterintelligence investigation, dotted every I, crossed every T, and acted unquestionably in an ethical, apolitical manner?
Everything that I've seen tells me that, yes, they acted appropriately, they did their job. Indeed, given the information that was coming to their attention, it would have been negligent for them in terms of the national security to ignore it, to decide we're not going to pursue it because it involves people affiliated with the campaign. They did what the nation needs them to do. Now, the Inspector General will look into, the handling of the Clinton email investigation and the conduct of parts of the Trump investigation, and that's appropriate.
Congressman, do you think that the DOJ acted completely appropriately, ethically, and apolitically in investigating Hillary Clinton's emails?
Well, I think there were mistakes made by the FBI, made by Director Comey in treating the Clinton investigation one way, in wide open public sharing information publicly, and keeping the Trump investigation confidential. I think it was a terrible double standard. Both should have been kept confidential. But if one was going to be disclosed, the other needed to be as well. So there were serious mistakes, I think, made by Director Comey. But I think that the agents performing those investigations were acting appropriately, were acting apolitically, whatever their personal views may have been. And the whole suggestion that the president keeps repeating that there's some secret society, deep state within the FBI is utter nonsense, but deeply damaging nonsense, because it does erode public confidence in these institutions that we are so dependent on.
By the way, Secretary of State Pompeo said the same thing in an open hearing yesterday, saying there is no deep state. Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing from you after that 2 p.m. Eastern Time briefing of Intel.